All right. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Jerriola. If you have joined a previous webinar, welcome back. And if it's your first time, then a special welcome to you. Before we get started, here are some housekeeping items. You are in a listen-only mode, so your lines are muted. But to submit a question, go ahead and type your inquiry into the questions pane of the control panel there. And you may send in your questions at any time throughout the presentation, and we'll do our best to get those answered during the session. And we've also reserved some time at the end to do some Q&A. Today's topic here is how to create report templates to automate reporting. I'd like to now introduce Nick Turner, our technical sales engineer here at Ekahau. Nick, turning it over to you.
Jerry, thank you very much, and welcome everyone to the webinar. Thank you very much for joining. I am going to start off with one or two slides. I'm going to keep this to a very minimal number of slides, and then we'll jump straight into using Ekahau to create some report documents. So let me introduce myself. I'm Nick Turner. I work for Ekahau, and I primarily look after the EMEA region. And you guys can see my screen okay. So we will move through. So let's have a quick peek at the agenda. So what we're going to talk about? We're going to talk about generating deliverables using Ekahau, where to start with custom report templates. Essentially, the whole process will cover the basics of custom report templates, and then we'll have questions at the end. Okay, so thank you very much, PowerPoint. Let's hop over to actually using the tool itself. What I've got here is a project file. It's a simulated project. It's a planning. I'm doing a simulation, and it's a warehouse, okay? And we can see that there are 7 APs in this environment. These APs, if we look at this window pane on the left, we can see that the APs are at different heights, and they are also different types of APs if we look at the antenna patterns down here. So we've got a few different models of APs in this plan. And I've spent time on this plan here, and I'm ready to submit my design, and we need to start thinking about how are we going to produce the deliverables. And so there are 3 basic ways of producing deliverables out of Ekahau. The first one, we simply go reporting and export image, and that grabs the canvas as it looks right now, creates an image file. We pick our file type, choose a destination, and we export that image, and then that can be used in a report if we wish to. So we'll just double check what that one looks like. And we can see that here as displayed within the software itself. The second method of generating a report is the one-click report. So we would go reporting, one-click reporting, and in here we have checkboxes to pick and choose the different chapters that we wish to include within our report documents. Rather than running that report right now, we will have a look at one that I produced earlier, and this one here, just to have a quick peek through. This is what the one-click report output looks like. And you guys, if you have used Ekahau before, you've probably seen this. And in here, we have all of the different chapters, whether I decided to include them or not, and all of the visualizations as they would be displayed within the Ekahau tool. Okay, so now I mentioned that those APs were different models, and that's included in one of these chapters as we come on down here. Network issues. So there are all of the access points. Here we can see my access points in the warehouse, and here we can see their name and, most importantly, what antenna was being used. Okay, so just here to show you that we can grab that information from our document, from our project. Now that's the one-click report, and this presentation is about creating custom report templates. So if you have installed Ekahau, or if you intend to install Ekahau in the future, when you do so, in your documents folder, you'll get a folder called Ekahau Site Survey, and in there is a folder called Report Templates, and we actually include this group of sample report templates for you to get you started with custom report templates. And in this list, there is sample-one-click-en, which is essentially the source file of the one-click report. So let's have a look at what that looks like. So the sample one-click report is full of these tags, and the basics here are that the format, the syntax of this report template is JSON, and the tags and values that we can use are all detailed on the Ekahau website on the support page. So let me show you where that is very quickly. You would go to support.ekahau.com, documentation for Ekahau Site Survey, and then scroll on down to template reporting. And here you can find an introduction to template reporting, and then detailed information on each of the tags and how to use them. Let's jump back to that report template. Text outside of the brackets is left alone, and text inside the brackets gets replaced by whatever value is being called for. So here we can see, here is the network configuration details being pulled. Okay, and this, one of the things that I mentioned was in the agenda was going to be where to start. And I would say that the one-click report template is the place to start, because you can do a one-click report. You can then grab the template for the one-click report, and you can actually see how these align with the deliverable that you produced using the one-click method, okay? And it's just things to know that we can actually go into these values and tweak the numbers, we can tweak the descriptions, and of course, we can rebrand this document, we can change the text. It doesn't, you really don't have to stick with this text. Okay, so that's enough of the kind of just saying, how great I think report templates are. Let's actually have a look at how we would go about using some of these, okay? So the first thing I'm going to show you is the default one-click template that we include in that folder in your documents is the source file of the one-click report. So the next logical step for me was taking that one-click report and modifying it. And so with a few tweaks, and there is a little bit of interplay here between Word and Ekahau, but we can use styles inside the Word document to create a table of contents. So this here is the output of a modified one-click report. And so simply just by going through my template, going and assigning very different styles to the headers, I was able to add a table of contents to my one-click report. And then we would go through the rest of this document, and it is more or less what we would expect to see from a one-click report. Okay, so that was a fairly minor tweak, and just again something to share that you can achieve. All right, let's get back to my warehouse. Now, in this warehouse, I said that there are different models of APs, they're at different heights. If we also look here, we can also see that some of these APs have an angle of tilt. So we can see that this AP01 has an angle of tilt. It's tilted down by 61 degrees. AP3 is tilted down by 90 degrees. So that tells me that from this simulation, this access point here in the middle of the screen is actually mounted on the ceiling, pointing directly down. Now, in this imaginary scenario, I did a prediction. I did a predictive design here. This is my plan for the network. And then I visited site, and to confirm the AP locations and make the installation process easier, I also visited each AP location and took a photograph. And I assigned my photograph to the AP. And I also made some notes about where the AP is going to be positioned, whether a new cable route is going to be required, and also any additional materials. And so each of these access points have have a picture and some notes. Now, using report templates, the source of this template that I'm going to show you now did come from the one-click report, but it's been heavily modified and stripped apart. So let's have a quick look at what it looks like. So this is a report template that I've created, and we're just going to walk through what's happening here. So first of all, we notice that this report is landscape. The front cover looks the same. Here is the table of contents. And now we can see that we're going to get a signal strength overview of the 2.4 gigahertz band. And then we're going to get a signal strength overview of the 5 gigahertz band. And you can see here with the layout of these tags that it's a little easier to read, and we can just see like exactly how this visualization is being created. And if I wish to tweak or change any of these values, I can do. Now, what's different about this template is that I've included an AP loop. And an AP loop will perform a set of actions for every AP matching a certain criteria. In this case, I'm filtering by the owner my. So all APs in the my AP group, we will get the next section repeated. And as we look down here in this example, we're actually going to get a page per AP. At the top, we'll have the AP name. Then we will have an AP image, a visualization showing me where that AP will appear on the map. And then for each of these access points, we're going to get a height, angle of tilt, transmit power, and model. And then the AP notes will be down here. Okay, so let's run this one. So I'm going to go back to my project, and we're going to go to the template reporting. And the template that I'm going to use is going to be this one here, the one that we were just looking at. Generate report. Now, with very large projects or very complex templates, this process will take longer. So you have to bear with us for that. But what I find fascinating about the report templates is the potential for saving hours and hours of your time. So when I was a genuine customer of Ecohouse, I used report templates, and it saved me hours of my day when creating reports. So here we can see the output from my warehouse project. Now, one thing that we always have to do is refresh the table of contents if your report template uses a table of contents, and that is a feature of Word. So we can see that we're going to have a signal strength overview in 2.4, signal strength overview in 5 gigahertz. Overview in 2.4 gigahertz. There's our legend, and the same for 5. And then we would move into the AP loop. And so per access point, and remember each AP was given a photograph. Here are the statistics for that AP. Because these are simulated APs, we can pull the values such as the height, the angle of tilt, the transmit power, what model of antenna is in use. And this is the document that I would then hand to the installation team, because this clearly shows this is where the AP needs to be put. And here it shows that AP's location on the map. And you can see that this document would have taken significantly longer to create if I were doing it manually. And now I mentioned the incremental changes that we can make to these report templates and little values that we can tweak. So what I want to do now is go into this report template, and we'll see that one of these values here is called scale, and scale refers to the size of the AP icon, and this is a percentage. So 100% is the default value, and we can make those AP icons larger or smaller if we wish to. Excuse me. So I have already tweaked a template for this. So here we can see the multiple pictures plus stats and notes, but the scale is set to 200. So in this template, I have set the scale to 200. Okay, so we'll run this one through the report generator. Like this. And we should see a difference in the size of the AP icons that are included in our visualizations. And this is again, another feature that I've used to my advantage. For instance, when dealing with very large floor plans, I may wish to tweak the size of the AP spot, either making it larger or smaller, depending on the project. And so this time, the report template, again, we need to update the table of contents. But now we can see that the AP icons have been blown up. Now, in this particular case, they look a little bit ugly. They're very large, but the point was just to show you that we can make these AP icons larger or smaller if we wish to. And so you can see here, this is possibly a more appropriate size for my AP spot. Now, hopefully none of the our attendees are thinking, well, this is great, Nick, but how, how would I even get a grip on these template tags? How would I start with this? So the options are: have a look at the one-click report template and make some modifications. Or there is actually a feature inside Ekahau that allow us to grab a visualization as it is right now. So for example, in here, if I were to switch off the AP icons, if this is the view that I want to put into my report template, I can go to reporting, template reporting, and here I have the option to copy current visualization template tag to clipboard. So I will do that. And then I can open up a blank Word document, and a simple paste will give me all of the tags necessary to produce that view in a report template. So I can save this. I'm going to save this template to the desktop, and we'll call it template. Hop over to Ekahau, reporting, template reporting, generate reports. We make sure we choose the correct template. So this one is actually straight up on the desktop here. And this is a very simple report. This is a very simple custom report template. We did not include any kind of loops. We did not include any kind of explanation text or titles, table of contents. But hopefully this has illustrated the point that if I create a view that I want to see in a report within Ekahau, I have the option of going to reporting, template reporting, and grabbing those tags straight from Ekahau. Okay, so moving on. This is actually a template. This is the output. This is the report that has been created from a different. Actually, well, here's the template. Here's the template, and this is an example again of a scenario where we wanted to show the coverage per AP. I have been involved in a few projects where the customer wished to see individual AP coverage for every AP throughout the installation. And in an installation scenario, there are valuable uses for this. With a simulation, possibly less so. But regardless, just want to show you that again, something that would take a long time to do manually, we can automate and speed the process up dramatically using report templates. So in this template, front cover, table of contents, overview in the 2.4, overview of 5, and then we have a loop start type APs. And then we're actually going to get individual AP coverage in the 2.4 gig band and individual coverage in the 5 gigahertz band. Now, this report template would take slightly longer to produce because there are many more visualizations. So rather than sitting through this to be produced, I have created one. Here's one I produced earlier. So let's have a very quick look at this, and you can see that this has been described as per AP, per band coverage reports. We would need to update the table of contents. There are all of the APs, and now here's the coverage from AP 01 in the 2.4 gig band. and AP01 in the 5, and then AP2, and so on. And it's just this idea of automation and scripting, I think, is very valuable and very powerful. The report engine inside Ekahau is very flexible, and we can create these report templates to meet most customers' needs, or rather you can. And you just need to spend a little bit of time experimenting with the report generator. And I reference the Ekahau support website, and we can actually see descriptions of all of the tags that are available to us and how to use them. So we just have a quick look here. For instance, under visualization tags and visualization tag specifications, here we can see all of the different values that we can set. So visualization image width, and we can do that in millimeters or inches, and area notes, and the list goes on. So there's a lot of customization available to us in here. All right, thresholds. In this report template, I have pulled the threshold value. So here is the signal strength visualization, and I've included a threshold value to accompany the visualization legend. All right, what is that actually? What am I talking about here? Signal to noise ratio and threshold value. So just within our project, under project coverage requirements, we set our signal strength threshold, our signal to noise ratio thresholds. Here are the criteria for my network. We can pull those values in a report, and in fact, the one-click report includes all of these values in a table, and that's usually at the front of the document. However, if we wanted to include those values again later on in the document, we can do so. So let's run the template, run the custom report template again, this time using the thresholds template. And this time we will get a report document where accompanying the legend will be text and clarifying the threshold value that is in use. So again, here we go, as we come on down, and we can see here that the signal strength visualization, here is our legend, and here is the threshold value. Just to settle everyone's minds, let me just show you that back here in the reports template, in the one-click report. I think we would find that on this one here. And we see that when using the one-click report, all of those thresholds are included in a table. Okay, and so we have just used those same tags, but this time I've placed them on our pages with the visualization. All right, I'm going to move on. So we've talked about the thresholds. So the next one I just wanted to show you, this is a very small, minor tweak, but I think could be very useful in certain scenarios. So for this, I'm going to change project file, and I'm going to move over to a slight modification of that same warehouse project. And this time you can see that multiple areas have been defined. There's a cafeteria area, there's a facilities area, office area, and each of these areas have a different coverage profile. And also I have applied capacity requirements to these areas. We can double check that by going to the area tool. We go to advanced, and we can see that I have applied a coverage profile, and there are barcode scanners in this area. Okay. and some notes. And so the core purpose of me showing you this particular project file and the area notes report templates was again just to show off the flexibility available to us. So the first one, we will go to reporting, template reporting, generate report, and we're going to use this template, which is area details collective. And what will happen here is we will get a map. We'll get an image of the floor plan, but all of the areas are contained in one image. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit here, and we can see that here's the office area. You can see there. And here's the facilities area. And over here will be the cafeteria. So there are all of the different areas on a single map image. And as we scroll down, we can see the specific details for each area. So here is the cafeteria, here are the coverage requirements, here are the capacity requirements, facilities, and office. Okay, so, and here we see all of that information presented to us in a nice friendly format. And so what's the big deal here? Well, depending on how I break this text up in the report template, I can actually create individual area maps. So what I'll do is I'll run the report template, the next one, by going to report template, generate reports, and this time we'll choose the individual area maps. And this time I'll rename that output, okay? And we'll call this separate. Like this, generate report. And this report template will give us a coverage, a floor plan image per area. So depending on how I wished to present this data to the customer in my deliverable, this time we've got cafeteria, and that's this area here being highlighted, followed by the specifics for that area. And then on the next page, we have the facilities area, and this time this area is marked out, followed by the area. Now this text is the same on both of those examples, but this time we get an individual area map. All right, so I've got one more template that I'd like to show you, and then we'll change gears and more look towards any questions. And I also would like to tell you that I'm going to share a link with you, and all of these templates that I've referenced in this presentation are available to you for free, and you can download them, you can pull them apart, you can use them for your own reports. It's available to you as an additional resource. Final report template for me to show you. This time we're going to change project files again, and this time we're going to switch over to a survey project. Now, in this particular survey, there are many access points, many SSIDs detected. And the report template that we're going to look at this time is a way of creating visualizations for specific SSIDs. So let's have a quick look at the template itself. So this is going to be SSID specific visualization. And so we need to specify the SSID that we wish to create the visualization for in our template. So that's what I've done here. We have signal strength for Draytech guest, and that's not inside the tag. So this is just ordinary text inside the Word document. And here we have visualization, heat map, type, signal strength, filter, include, SSID, Draytech guest. Then on the next page, we're going to get the signal strength for SSID EBF, first plan, circle square. Okay. Let's have a quick look at what these look like. So Draytech guest. Now inside Ekahau, to create a visualization for a specific SSID, I would make sure that my visualization selector is set up for signal strength on selected access points. And then I would use the quick select box to select the APs. And so I'm particularly interested in the SSID Draytech guest. So we'll come down here, and there it is. And there we can see the coverage for Draytech guest in both 2.4 and 5 gig bands. And then the second one I mentioned was going to be EBF. There's EBF, and we can see a different coverage pattern. I'll switch that visualization off for a moment. We'll go to reporting, template reporting, generate report. We pick out our report template. This is going to be the SSID specific visualization template. Generate report. This is naturally a report template that would be useful for a survey project rather than a simulation project. But if we have performed a survey and we want to show coverage of specific SSIDs, and the scenario that comes to mind is when we have SSIDs that cover different areas of a site. So maybe the guest SSID is only available in the lobby and the office, whereas manufacturing SSID is available in only the warehouse. This type of report template would allow me to generate these visualizations specific to an SSID nice and easily. So here's the signal strength visualization for Draytech guest, and signal strength for the SSID EBF and first plan. Okay, and there was the circle square SSID, most likely not coming from an access point on site. It's going to be in a neighboring building or perhaps on the floor above or below us during the survey, and we can see the area that is affecting. All right, so I hope that was of interest to you guys. Wanted to just bring up these important links again quickly, and then we'll move on to some questions. So where to start? Definitely check out support.ekahau.com, and you'd want to go to the Ekahau site survey documentation option, template reporting, and there are lots of guides, lots of information available about the tags and how to use them. The other link is bit.do/Ekahau custom report templates, and that will take you to a shared folder of mine. And let me bring that up for you on here. That will give you access to all of these report templates, ones that I've created over the past 2 years or so. And please, you're welcome to download these and modify them and experiment with creating the reports that you wish to. So, Jerry, how are we looking for questions at the moment?
Hey, Nick. Yeah, thank you for the great topic here. Yeah, we've got a few questions. I've been trying to hammer through them as quickly as I can as they've been coming in, and thankfully, actually, a lot of them you were addressing throughout. I would say the number one question you just answered there of, how do I get access to these great templates? So I put the link also in chat there. If you don't have the chat window pulled up, you can just click the URL there, and that'll take you right to that bit.do link that Nick was just mentioning. So yeah, if you're interested in any of those templates that Nick just went through there, go ahead and pull that up, and yeah, maybe bookmark that so you can access those later as well. But yeah, let's jump into some questions here. And yeah, if you do have questions, now is the time to get those in. The first question here is kind of an interesting one. I'm actually curious, Nick, if you know a way of doing this here. But Oliver asked, which tag gives a readout of a max RSSI value from an AP? So I'm thinking it's looking at like he's looking from a rogue AP standpoint and trying to identify rogue APs and their coverage. Is that possible to do with a template? Kind of do like a rogue AP template?
Okay, thank you very much for the question. So the first port of call when a question like this pops up is to head over to the support page for the report templates, and then I would start trawling through the tags that are available. Now, as far as displaying rogue AP coverage goes, there are a couple of ways that I would go about that. It would a lot depend on how I have grouped my APs. So one way would be to select all of the access points that are my infrastructure, place them into the my AP group. Just remind everyone where that is. Back into the tool. The my AP checkbox helps us differentiate between access points that are my infrastructure and everything else which is other and probably considered to be rogue, not necessarily a malicious rogue. So, and I know I'm skirting around the core question here. Let me loop back around in just a moment. If I wanted to show the coverage impact from rogue access points, one way would be to select my infrastructure, add them to the my AP group, and then use the template report to produce coverage for other APs. And that would show me the impact in terms of signal strength. Now, we could also show coverage from APs that are not on the map. Again, that would just be a filter that we would use in the report template. So that would be a scenario if we had access points that were not detected at a signal strength great enough to be automatically placed on the map, but they were still having an impact on coverage. So some of the APs in this project are doing that as well. They are not on the map, but the SSID was visible during my survey. And how would I do that? It would be by filtering access points not on map. So, for example, if we go down here and we would look at so the first method I mentioned, APs that are my APs, we would use owner my for the my infrastructure, and then owner other. So that means specifically all APs that are not in the my AP group. And just looking for on map. So
and while you're looking that up, just to clarify, the my AP versus other AP, that's kind of that filter piece that's with an Ekahau. So yeah, by default, it's going to flag all APs that are observed with the SSID that you're associated to or that you specified in the software as, my SSID. It's going to flag those APs as my APs. But that means the inverse is anything that's not being seen broadcasting your SSID will automatically be flagged as that other, or in this case, we're building a rogue AP report, so that would fall under that category.
Okay, not finding exactly what I wanted to show you right now.
Scroll back up a little bit.
But so access points displayed on map equals true, and then in here, include it is possible to show to filter and specify a group of APs that are not currently on the map. yes, we can do that. And I'm pretty sure it's listed in the in some of the, at least in one of those that we've shared with you from the bit.do link. But just to come back to your finer point question there, was about the data rates being offered by these rogues, I think. And no? All right, cool. All right, well, let's move on to the next question then.
So yeah, the next question we had was from Gregory here about building just a table of information. We talked a lot about with these reports, obviously creating heat maps and things like that. What if I just want a database kind of output, just a table that shows, from survey results, the AP information, the MAC address, the BSSID, the channel, the SSID that was observed during the survey. Is that possible to just output a table of AP information?
Okay, yes, we can. And they are a little bit more complicated to set up. And so I would always move back to to try and copy and paste and modify some existing code to do that. And so, for example, I think I would look at the one-click report source document, because, and that is not this one here. What I'm looking for is the template one-click report modified, like this one here. And so in here, towards the end of the document, when using the one-click reports, and so this is kind of what a table looks like when we're trying to create it by using the report template methods. So things get a little bit squashed up because, of course, it's the output that we care about. But this is what the table looks like for network requirements. But to answer your question, it was about AP information. Yes, we can. So I would go into Ekahau. I would produce the one-click report. Then I would also open up the template for the one-click report and then start looking at what is the data that I can get, and then what do I want to change. And so this is actually notes, area notes, cable notes, survey bookmarks, measured access points not placed on any map. So here you can see this is how I would produce a table giving me the data for the APs. And it looks complicated. I appreciate this, and I wouldn't know I wouldn't start by typing this out from scratch. I would always copy some existing code and modify it if I wished to. Let's just have a quick look at what this looks like when we've actually run it through a report. And that would be, if we have a look at this one here, and we scroll on down to the tables. So here are the access points, and that's the sort of table that we are looking at. Tables can definitely be achieved, and they just take a little bit more upfront work, because whereas with a visualization, we have the option of going into Ekahau and copy the current visualization template tag, and that kind of gives us a little bit of structure there. When it comes to producing tables in our report templates, it's a little bit more complex. A nice simple example I can show you would be this one here. This is one that I did create more or less from scratch. This is a loop start and shows us the wall materials used in a simulation report. So you can see here that I've got wall name, attenuation, wall width, and wall height. And if I were to run this template against a simulated project with simulated materials, walls, we would get a document that looks a little bit like this. So this is a good example of a table that hasn't just been pulled out of the one-click report. This one lists all of the wall materials used in a simulated project. And a quick note, actually, just while I'm here, about wall height being not applicable. When you have a wall material, the default is the ceiling height. And when it's the ceiling height, you will see not applicable in wall height because we have not overridden the material's wall height. So if the value is set, then we will see that number here. Otherwise, we assume that it travels from floor to ceiling, and that's why we would see not applicable in this table. Okay, maybe we have time for a couple more questions. What do you think, Jerry?
Yeah, we still have quite a few people on the call, and we've got a few more questions coming in here. So I know we're at the top of the time here for the session, but I think we're okay sticking on for a little bit longer here and answering some questions. So yeah, let's take the next one here. The next question here is around the legend at the bottom of the heat map. So the legend output within the report template doesn't match identically to what you see in the software. And there were some questions from a couple of different people of, is there a way to make that match identically? I've got some suggestions. I'm curious, Nick, what your thoughts are there to maybe use a different legend in your templates than the built-in template legend.
Okay, so this is where our let me hide this, and if we select signal strength, do you mean specifically? Is it more about the values that are available, or like the color scheme that's in use?
Yeah, it's a good question. I believe it has to do with just the legend doesn't identically match up when you run the report and specify that legend in the report. It doesn't look exactly the same. You're right. Some of those sliders, those don't all show up on there, and just how the gradient scale and stuff. I guess the gradient scale part of it would match up, but you don't get all the numbers and stuff on there, right? So let's say we want to take the legend that you have on the screen right there. Is there a way that I can take that and put that into the template so those match identically?
Well, when using a custom color scheme, then we must specify that when using a report template. And let's change that for a moment. Like if we change my color scheme to be like this, and then I would use the template reporting copy current visualization template tag to clipboard, head over to Word, start a new document, paste those tags, and you'll see here the range colors. And that specifies that the visualization should use this color scheme. And when we use the tag visualization, when we use the visualization legends tag, and again, great artists copy, right? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go and find an example of the visualization legend tags. I'm not going to try and, there we go. So this tag will provide the legend for whatever visualization preceded this. So I can copy this and then head back to my blank document, which is this one here, paste that into here. And now if I sling that one over there, save this template. So I think what the point is, that the answer to the question is we have to specify the color scheme to be used inside the visualization tags. I'm going to just finish this one off. Jerry, what's the next question? And then we'll touch on this just before we move on.
All right, so yeah, the next question we have here is Let's see. Well, one, let's just address this one real quick, talking about the webinar being recorded. So yeah, this webinar is being recorded and will be sent out. So you should be get a link to that recording. We'll also publish that on our website, but usually within about 24 to 48 hours, you should get that. All right, the next question here is from Nick Smith. Can SSID visualization be automated for all SSIDs that are detected during a site survey so that we can see the extent that foreign APs intrude into our space? So that's kind of along the lines of what we were talking about before of the rogue APs, correct?
Okay, I'm making a conscious effort to stop whenever anybody asks me a question and I say a great question. I'm going to try and not say this, but in this scenario, that is a fantastic question, and thank you for asking it. We currently don't have the ability to loop through SSIDs. We can group the APs and show my APs and other APs, but as of today, we cannot loop through groups of SSIDs. What we would, at the moment, we would need to specify the SSID that we want to create the visualization for within our report template. And now I'm going to hop back one question. I'm just going to produce the report for using a specific color scheme and the legend. And what we should get is a visualization. Let me close that one down and just run that again. Whenever you are experimenting with report templates, there is a little quirk with Word where the output, you must close the document before opening it again. Doesn't make sense. You're better off changing the name of the output each time to make sure that that Word doesn't show you a document that you think you've made a change to, and then it turns out that you haven't. So I hope this has answered the question about the legend somewhat. If not, feel free to drop me an email. My email address is nick@ekahau.com. And yeah, if you bring that one up to me, maybe we can book a web session and take a look at that together. If this has not addressed your query, but the color range, if you wish to use a custom color range, you must define that inside the visualization tags. All right. How about another question, Jerry?
Yeah, I think we've got time for one more question here. Let's see if we can, we've got a couple still in here. So let's see. All right, so talking about, now we've got obviously the Sidekick integration and some of the spectrum analysis capabilities. How do we include some of that spectrum analysis, those RF bookmarks that you can mark into there? Could you show some of that? I know we have some of the heat map stuff, but also what if I want to, show some of those interferers that I detected in the spectrum analysis? Can I include that into a template?
You absolutely can include survey bookmarks in your reports, be that a custom report template or the one-click template. So let's just review very quickly how we would create a survey bookmark. We must switch on the survey paths, and then we under the survey tab, we would go to survey inspector, and at that point we can see the dots along the path, and each of those dots are a data point. And of course, should have checked that this project had spectrum data. This particular project that I'm using here does not have spectrum data, so let's open one that does. Spectrum analysis. So if you want to include spectrum data in your report, you must have collected spectrum data during your survey, and then you report on specific events. Okay, and so we go to Survey Inspector, and you can then hop around the survey path and view the recorded spectrum data. And specifically, we would use this for events of interest. So for example, in this area of the map, we would be advised to change my visualization to spectrum utilization in the 2.4 gig band. And we can see here that this area it has a high utilization. That is reflected here in the frequency monitor window. And we can see there is a wideband interferer affecting this area. We add a survey bookmark by using the star up here. This adds a star to the map and gives us the opportunity to write notes. So for example, I could say wideband, I don't mean to shout, I apologize. Wideband interference. And then I press return, and that saves this point on the map, this visualization, as a point of interest. And in a report template, once again, I would refer back to the one-click report template. However, I'm pretty sure that this example document has spectrum data inside it, I hope. You will be able to include the, yes, here we go. So the spectrum utilization as a visualization looks like this. We can see areas where utilization is high and utilization is low. And this is an overview across the entire 2.4 gig band, but we can specify individual channels if we wish to. However, the answer to the question is, how do we look at individual survey bookmarks? In a report, they will appear as a star with a number, and then we will get a snapshot of the spectrum view along with the notes that we made at that time. Okay, so, and this is what it looks like using the one-click report, but we could change these views, and I could, for instance, create a page dedicated to this image, and then we could, so I would change the template, I would modify this, and I could actually make this image full screen, and then we could put the notes at the bottom. And what, again, just to drive home the point one last time, this is what I really enjoy about the custom report templates, is that within reason, whatever you want to do, you can achieve it. If you just experiment and play around with the templates, and you want to make this thing full screen, that's absolutely fine. We can move the tags necessary to create this image, put it onto a fresh page, specify the image width or height, and then off we go. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone who has attended. I hope this has been of value to you. And Jerry, thank you very much. I'm going to hand the ball back to you now.
All right, thank you very much, Nick. Yeah, this was a really valuable topic. Just by looking at the questions and everything coming in, there's a lot of interest in this. So I appreciate you taking the time to go through all this with everybody. And I put our emails in chat there. If we weren't able to get to your questions, I apologize. But yeah, if there's anything you want to dive into deeper on there, feel free to reach out to myself or Nick. Obviously, Nick being much more the guru on this topic than I am. But yeah, feel free to leverage either one of us, and I'll be happy to get those questions answered. But yeah, thanks again for joining this topic. And if you have, you should be receiving a follow-up email within about 24 to 48 hours with a link to the recording from the session. And we'll also be publishing this on our website as well in YouTube channel. So feel free to review anything back there. And yeah, on behalf of Ekahau and our presenter here, Nick, thank you for joining us today, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye.